we're continuing on with our agenda for today, and next is the regional update from Mid-Michigan. None other than Barbara Klimaszewski, Regional Manager for Mid-Michigan.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've always wanted to revise the MIDC logo. Here it is, my revision. I think it shows the goals and accomplishments of the MIDC. And I'm taking advantage of this chance to present this revised version because it's the last presentation that I'm going to make to you as regional manager because I'm going to be retiring in November.
Thank you, Barbara. Really, we've all learned a lot from you.
Thank you. Next slide. When I started, next slide, there we go. We had some folks that are familiar faces that are still with us. It's led by Judge Fisher. We also had Commissioner McMillan, who was the original sponsor of our bill, and other people that you might see up there that remain on this body. And they started before I did, these folks. I started in January of 2016. And all the regional managers began work as contractors that year. And I started looking at this region as what I call the massive middle. Coast to coast, and I started driving, and meeting with stakeholders, court watching, learning about the local systems and their individual needs and operations, explaining the standards, gathering feedback from stakeholders, most important feedback being from those who strongly opposed our work or were the most skeptical and thought that everything we thought we were going to do was completely impossible. Next slide. So these were the points that we began with, the first 4 standards. And I'll tell you, I mean, as natural as they are to us now, and as much as we operate with them every day, they just were impossible. They were generally considered to be completely insane. Next slide. But lo and behold, they got signed. And counsel at first appearance and other critical stages was really considered the most impossible. Judges generally thought this was completely crazy. So we pressed forward. I had quite a few systems who, once they sat down and really realized that they had to present plans, they presented plans and they looked upon them as sort of pie in the sky plans. Ones that, you know, well, we'll just ask for all kinds of crazy things because we know that none of this will ever happen. And then we got the standards, we got the funding, and then it was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? We have to do these things. So our staff continued to change and continued to grow. Our regional manager staff changed. This was our first group that were the employees. After 2016, we became staff members, full-time staff members. And so we proceeded to start really implementing the contracts, implementing the standards in a powerful way. Our staff has grown since then. This is a more recent iteration of our staff. And I especially like Kelly's contribution there with the additional staff member. That's our favorite one. But we have continued to carry on the wishes of this commission and the mandates of our statute. Go ahead. During the pandemic, everybody was closed except us. We carried forward with our standards. We kept on functioning. And we became very creative in how to do this in the face of all of the restrictions and prohibitions that were in place. And we got standard 5, which really changed things. I got a comment from one of my managed assigned counsel people who said that he had just gotten out of a rough arraignment with a 21-year-old autistic kid who was, he was in a tough argument trying to get this kid out on bond. It was a malicious destruction of property charge. And he said, I don't know if I would have been as feisty during the hearing if it were not for the protection that Standard 5 affords me. I think Standard 5 is the most underrated policy that MIDC pushed through. It's extremely liberating to be able to push back against any of the court's schedules, policies, or demands without the fear of repercussions from the court. I also think it's invaluable just having someone with my position in the courthouse. While I'm not officially assigned to the cases that I appoint on, I've done the arraignment, met the client, and usually read the police report. This allows me to serve as a sounding board or even a de facto second chair on any case or step in for coverage without missing a beat or needing to start from scratch. This is particularly effective on minor cases where a warrant gets issued for failure to appear. I'm available to handle the arraignment whenever they turn themselves in and can usually arrange to have the warrant recalled and the case pre-tried and sentenced and the client released if they got picked up all in a matter of hours, as opposed to arraigning on the bench warrant and setting for new court dates. So we moved up to 2023 and 2024. This is our current group of regionals, along with Deborah, who hangs with us, lucky for us. And so we've had changes, improvements, and problems during FY23 and heading into FY24. Tuscola added a staff attorney to its MAC office. This allows the MAC staff to add low levels of misdemeanor representation to its portfolio of CAFA representation and administration of their panel. They have a shortage of attorneys, and they import many of their MAC attorneys. This change, adding a staff member, will ease the persistent problem of getting lawyers for clients charged with misdemeanors. In the longer term, Tuscola hopes to establish a PD office, and this is sort of their beginning point of doing it. The Tuscola staff attorney says, the best thing I've noticed is the ability to immediately triage at-risk mental health and substance abuse clients into rehabilitation and competency situations. I can't count the number of times and people that I've been able to bond out into a rehab facility within a week of their incarceration. Prior to MIDC funding, those individuals would have sat in jail until released, not getting help or treatment that they required to achieve a successful and independent existence. Oscoda County had only one local attorney who did appointed work. He was the MAC, and he used out-of-town attorneys for the cases that he did not handle himself. When health issues caused him to stop practicing, the Northeast Michigan Defender Office, which had been covering Alpena and Montmorency, added Oscoda to its operations. This is working for now, and a new attorney is coming on board in November. However, that region suffers deeply from the ongoing attorney shortage. Lake County, Mecosta County, and Osceola County, which are part of the 8-county regionalization, will be billing hourly for the first time in FY24 to comply with Standard 8. This will be a substantial change for FY24. Historically, Lake has had a flat rate contract, and Mecosta and Osceola have had event-based pay. All of these systems import attorneys from other counties to provide representation for many of their cases. At times, it has been difficult to find qualified attorneys to handle these cases. The change to hourly pay at Standard 8 rates should provide incentives that will ensure the continuation of high-quality representation in these rural areas. In Saginaw, the defense record is unprecedented. Saginaw operates a 50-50 system that has a MAC panel handling half their cases and a nonprofit PD office handling the other half. The Saginaw Defender's Office opened in April 2019, serving 25% of the indigent cases at that time. In July 2019, they began to represent all clients at first appearance. And currently, each side, the MAC side and the PD side, represents half of the indigent clients. With MIDC fundings supporting the indigent defense bar, the landscape has changed. Saginaw Defender's Office now has 8 full-time administrative personnel, 1 full-time social worker, 2 investigators, 13 lawyers, and 4 interns that are awaiting the results of the July bar. Saginaw has been a leader in the effective use of interns. The office puts their interns to work doing important drafting and research, as well as working in court under the supervision of staff attorneys. This has resulted in the interns wanting to come on board as attorneys in the office. All 4 of those awaiting bar results intend to hire on as staff attorneys after they pass the bar. Budgets in Saginaw and the multi-county PD office, which serves Alpena, Montmorency, and now Oscoda, have budgeted for interns for FY24. While this is new for the Northeast Michigan Defender Office, Saginaw's intern program has been in place for 2 years. This is a good long-run approach to increasing the availability of attorneys, but we also need immediate help in the short run, which I'll talk about in a minute. The Saginaw internship program, as well as the recruiting efforts of the SDO, has resulted in a substantial increase in minority attorneys in Saginaw. Some have left, they have attracted a lot of minority attorneys to their office. Some of them have left in favor of private practice, but they have remained in the community. This is a very important change for Saginaw. We've always had various underrepresented minority bar members. And so just the existence of this stable funding has made a big difference in terms of attracting minority representation to the bar there. But in addition to the direct victories that are won by motions and trials, the addition of social workers in Saginaw and Alpena have significantly improved the results for clients by assisting clients with services during their cases and submitting mitigation reports. Although the Alpena social worker has been working there for just over a year, the court is now actively encouraging clients to work with her to arrange treatment and provide the court with alternatives to incarceration. Recently, there was a problem in the courthouse that when there was a lot of tension between the family of the complaining witness and the family of the defendant, and the bailiff called the defender office social worker to come and resolve the situation, which she did. The Isabella PD office has also recently added a social worker, and the change for the better has already begun there. Tom Hausman has sent me this story. I had a client on a probation violation for testing positive for meth, testing positive for alcohol, failing to test another time, and failing to do his community service. While they were all technical violations, he had 354 days of jail already served. Probation had desperately tried to get him into inpatient treatment, and he refused, claiming he didn't need help. He also has some mental health issues. At the second arraignment for PVs 1 and 2, our new social worker, Rosa, was present. She met with the client and me prior to the arraignment and again afterwards. Prior to this morning's scheduled hearing, Rosa had reached out to him and also secured a bed for him at an inpatient facility. He agreed to go, but only if the judge ordered him to go. He would not go any sooner. This morning, the judge ordered him to report to 1016, the treatment facility, by Friday, did not take him into custody and is allowing him to self-report, all thanks to our new social worker, Rosa. The judge even pulled me aside when we were off the record, saying how excited he was for our office to start this program, and he wished the prosecutor's office would do something similar. An attorney from Saginaw said, I can't comment on what it was like to be a defense attorney prior to MIDC, but I would comment that the addition of Maria Romo, our social worker, has been a godsend. My client's father had passed away, and she had just given birth to twins. She had been evicted from her apartment and was living at the rescue mission. Maria helped me get the client more stable housing and get enrolled in a mental health treatment program to deal with her anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Prior to MIDC, that resource would not have been available to my client, as she was indigent and didn't have anyone to help her sort these things out. I think she would have lost those 2 babies to the system if MIDC had not been able to secure a support person like Maria to help with our clients. The biggest impending crisis in my region is the attorney shortage. The MIDC staff continue to work with stakeholders to alleviate this crisis. Many mid-Michigan counties have virtually no attorneys. In Montmorency, Lake, Aranac, and Oscoda, the attorneys must come from out of town even to provide arraignment coverage. In FY23 and continuing to FY24, we have provided supplemental assistance in Alcona County. There, an out-of-town attorney was brought in and expert services provided to a system that has a low caseload and very few attorneys. Only 1 attorney that works there is qualified to do capital cases. This 2-defendant homicide defense could not have happened without the MIDC funding. In Alpena, in FY23 and FY24, MIDC has funded the use of out-of-county counsel and other added resources to defend a multi-defendant double homicide case involving many thousands of pages of discovery and over 1,500 hours of video witness statements. This kind of case would have crushed the defenders before MIDC. Now, a well-resourced defense is possible with MIDC reforms, but the need could not be filled with the attorneys available in Alpena. This assistance must be made available whenever and wherever counsel is needed for indigent defense. The Rural Attorney Project that is under development through Mecosta County's FY24 grant is designed to expand and implement further assistance for systems that lack adequate attorney coverage. The Mecosta proposed expansion will make this available not only for mid-Michigan, but also for rural systems statewide that have shortage issues. This must be done on an organized and well-planned basis. The ad hoc approach that we used in Alcona and Alpena so far has temporarily solved the problems of those individual clients, but we must be prepared to address these situations quickly and effectively when needed. Several mid-Michigan systems have already added budget lines to make funds available in FY24 to pay for the attorneys and experts and investigators who would be recruited through the Rural Attorney Shortage Project. Alcona, Alpena, and Ogama are among those that have made those requests. Once the project is in place, many other mid-Michigan systems are certain to use it. With the adoption of Standard 6 and 7, the need for this kind of service will be more critical than ever. Throughout mid-Michigan, indigent defense has undergone great change through MIDC funding and standards. The MAC from one of the counties in my region said that it's invaluable to have somebody in his position, as I had told before, because he can advocate for the clients immediately and effectively. Before our standards and our funding were in place, the client was essentially on his own, right up until just before preliminary examination, often at arraignment, saying and doing things that set him back. An attorney from Saginaw said he wanted to provide some generalities and some examples about how our funding has positively affected the effectiveness of client representation in Saginaw County. I practiced criminal law on the appointed list prior to MIDC funding and currently. Undoubtedly, clients have greatly benefited since the increased funding, since the attorneys can allocate their time toward the needs of each individual client and all aspects of their case. I have about 20 clients in custody at any given time. The increased grant money has allowed me to check in on inmates to put their mind at ease, even if only for 15 minutes, to remind them that I'm working on resolving their case and to maintain a trusting relationship between us. Moreover, since the increase in funding, we can also allocate time speaking to family members with the client's permission to relay information for clients in jail. This makes clients feel reassured that I'm working on their case and I care enough to spend that extra time to keep the family in the loop. Prior to receiving MIDC grant money, allocating time towards drafting motions and conducting research and writing was a major hurdle. Now I can spend productive time drafting motions, even if they're not argued, that position my case to obtain a favorable result from my client. As an example, I had a client charged with a CCW. I filed a motion to quash the information and a brief in support that beautifully positioned the case. The court could have decided the motion either way. And the prosecutor ended up offering an improper transport of a firearm, a 90-day misdemeanor, in lieu of arguing my motion. Prior to MIDC grant money, my motions for bond were usually unaccompanied by a supporting brief. Now I'm able to meet with my clients at the jail, review each specific pretrial release factor with them, and draft a supporting brief that is both accurate and effective. The quality of my bond motions have greatly increased, and the amount of time, the amount of clients in custody have plummeted. Dozens of my clients have benefited from the MIDC grant in this regard. Before each preliminary exam, I now have the time to do research, not only on the elements, but also the applicable case law to attack each element. I recently had a case dismissed when the prosecutor was unable to establish one of the elements. My research and preparation made that possible. Body cams and dash cams have provided attorneys with hours of video footage that attorneys were not compensated for reviewing prior to MIDC funding. On one occasion, I had a charge dismissed at preliminary exam because I was able to spend the time reviewing the body cams and dash cams. So I knew that the officers could not identify my client. So I demanded an exam and the case was dismissed after the officer testimony because the officer was unable to identify my client. MIDC funding has also brought new attorneys to the table to take appointed cases. One attorney said, prior to MIDC, I would not have even contemplated taking appointed cases because of the way the judiciary constantly cut bills and did not make funds available for investigation or expert witnesses. Clients are receiving better representation because of the funding MIDC provides. I hope this presentation has shown you the big picture of some of what has been accomplished by you and your staff in a few short years. The staff looks to you for direction and support in their work carrying out your policies. They have consistently demonstrated their willingness to do all that is needed to accomplish that. And I appreciate the opportunity to have worked with the fine staff that is at MIDC and to work with this commission. It's been an honor and a privilege to work for and represent the commission since 2016. Your work, as implemented by your staff, has made the most profound changes ever accomplished in the criminal justice system. It has created an environment where citizens' rights are protected and being poor no longer deprives those citizens of fair treatment. The times ahead will continue to present challenges in that work. Keep the faith and keep doing the work. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you.